This is a really interesting question. And even in the making of this vlog, a lot of the differences between who I am in real life and my online persona really came to the forefront for me. I think it's important to acknowledge that most people have multiple versions of themselves, multiple identities, I think. If you think about how you interact with your parents versus your coworkers versus your close friends, we all have different versions of ourselves. Um, and really, your online identity is just another version of that. You pick and choose who you are, what you say, how you act based on your audience. Um, for me, one of the biggest differences between who I am online and who I am in the real world has a lot to do with confidence. In real, well, online, I don't tend to do a lot of live action shots. Vlogs like this where I actually appear on camera are really outside of my comfort zone. In the real world, I can't escape a bad hair day or a blemish. And online, none of that stuff it doesn't have any impact on me. I can present the best of who I am at any point. People who know me online don't know that I'm struggling to come to terms with the fact that I'm getting older and starting to look it. They don't know that I struggle with my weight. They only know me for my accomplishments and my skill set. And that creates a very different relationship and affects the way that I interact with people online. Most of my online interaction tends to be for business purposes, looking for new editing clients, answering questions or interacting in writer forums to help establish, myself as an expert in the industry, looking at upcoming trends. There are plenty of ways that who I am in real life and who I am online are very much the same. I mean, the desire to be helpful, to be a conduit for knowledge and learning, those are things that, permeate who I am both on and offline. Um, I think a lot of people would say that, not being your full and true self online makes your online persona or your online identity fake. And I would disagree. I think it's still, who I am online is still very genuine. It's just not complete. It is only the best parts of myself. It's the most perfect version of me that I can present to the world, and it's done that way by design. Since a big part of my online identity or my digital identity is directly tied to my business, one specific dimension of that identity that technology really allows me to express is the idea that um, I'm trustworthy, and that when I work with an author, the relationship that we develop will be one built on honesty and collaboration. Most of the authors that I work with don't live around me. I can't exactly meet them at a local coffee shop and discuss their manuscript over a latte. So I really rely on email. I rely on social media messaging through Twitter and Facebook, interaction directly on my website in order to create a relationship that they can trust. Authors spend a lot of time writing, creating, and they can be very sensitive about handing their life's work over to someone that they've never met. And so technology, for me, allows me to work with clients that I might not otherwise ever have had the opportunity to work with. And with tools like, for example, the editing capabilities of Microsoft Word, my feedback is very clear, it's very concise. Authors can see my edits or suggestions very easily. They're very easy to understand. Technology, my smartphone, my computer, the internet, all of these things make the business transaction that I have with the clients that I work with very smooth. It allows them to kind of take a breath and be able to trust that when they hand something off to me, that it's going to be protected, that I'm going to be as invested in it as they are. Um, so technology as it stands right now really creates the opportunity for me to do what I do, and it helps me present this persona that I am a real, genuine person who wants to be vested in their project. I have always been kind of a workaholic. I love school, I love taking on projects, and technology has really fed into that part of my personality. I think sometimes it's a good thing. I'm never bored. There's always a question to be answered or research to be done. But one of the things, or I think probably one of the biggest ways that technology has influenced my identity, both online and in person, is that it has, through overuse, made me very aware of how important it is to live moments in the present. Abha Dawasar, in her TED Talk, Living in the Digital Now, really kind of hits on this point. Um, I can sit in front of a computer and before I know it, 2, 3, 4 hours have passed. I think technology has influenced who I am in that I had to make a conscious decision when and where to use technology and to not spend tons of time worried about yesterday's web stats or making plans for how I can improve engagement tomorrow. It forced me to really consider what is important in my life, probably the most important being my family and my children. Use of technology is a part of who I am, but it has also made me acutely aware of who I don't want to be. We live in the age of information. Everybody wants to know everything and they want to know it now. And for people like me who kind of find our self value in being needed for our skills and our knowledge, and we want to be considered knowledgeable, this environment can be both good and bad. I think it has allowed me to really thrive, but at times it also pushes me towards burnout. People who, like me, use social media as this way of kind of gauging our professional success, I think sometimes can tend to get a little obsessed with our online presence. You take every chance that you can to feed that desire to be helpful, um, but at the same time, there's the flip side of that that says if you don't maintain this constant presence, that who you are will, or how people perceive you will change, or maybe even worse than that, will just disappear altogether, and no one will know who you are. No one will appreciate how hard you've worked. In Tim Rainer's article, I Tweet, Therefore I Become, he shares the experience of author Peggy Ornstein, who found herself using social media in a way that made even the most mundane things in her life out to be something great and meaningful. And his article really resonated with me. I think no matter how great a life we may appear to have, we're all human. We have our ups and downs. And I think most of us online tend to do what I've already admitted to doing, and that's only presenting the best of who we are. I think a lot of us tend to use social media as a way to either supplement or replace the support structure that we're not getting in our real life. Post something great that you've done or something you've accomplished, and people are quick to like it or share it or give you, a virtual pat on the back. Share something that goes wrong, and people flock to sharing your misery and try to comfort you. I'm guilty of this. Yeah, I think I post my proud mom moments because I'm looking for some kind of validation that yes, my children are awesome and yes, I'm a good mom. And, on occasion when I post something that doesn't go well, I'm looking for someone to tell me that it's okay, that we still think you're awesome, I really think it does go back to that idea, this sense that we're performing goes back to the idea that we're presenting the best of who we are. We are consciously choosing who we want the audience, those other people on social media, who we want them to see. And it's no different than an actor stepping out onto a stage. We make conscious decisions in the words that we choose, in the way that we interact to create a character. Interacting in the digital world has had an influence on how I think of myself as a person, in that it has made me extremely aware of how important it is to live life in the present, but it has also helped me to grow my feelings of self-worth. In the real world, I struggle with the insecurities that are tied to how I think people will perceive me based on my physical appearance. Having a digital presence has allowed me to develop a sense of confidence based on my skill set and based on really my drive and my intention. For me, my digital presence has allowed me to learn to love who I am, to love the good parts of myself enough to want to learn to overcome those insecurities in the real world.